Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, I like to do some videos in between doing the series on the quote unquote giants or large hominids, as I like to call them. And I'm doing this second part of my series, which covers the accounts of the so called Giants International. So, if you haven't been catching those videos, please do take a look at them. But, I like to do these videos in between the series videos and, just sometimes to have a little fun, but, serious research too. And, I just was looking at so much here, and it was mentioning Goliath from the Bible and, from the Old Testament with David and Goliath. But apparently, that's only one Goliath in the Bible. There's another one, and I think the story is a little confused. But, if you follow, like me, a fellow named Bill Donahue from Hidden Meanings in the Bible doesn't mean anything like that at all. What we think it means from traditional teachings, but it has a far deeper meaning. But not to get too far into that, I was just wondering what the name actually meant. And I'm a big follower also, and I mention it every once in a while with Matt here from Quantum of Conscience, where he just doesn't believe in anything. He feels like something is driving reality in the background, something inexplicable. And, just so much doesn't make any sense at all. There's just too many coincidences and, all this other stuff, related to, the whole truth movement and everything else. But it's just interesting what Matt has to say about, these truth drops that are given to us in small bites. And these are not the pissed on breadcrumbs like he likes to talk about, but some actual truth to be gotten out of what is actually being said. So I just, with everything in mind about how I sort of perceive the giants of the past and these large hominids of the past and these humanoids of the past. You just, if you've been following along on my channel and you know how I feel about it, you know my thoughts on it, and it's quite different thoughts than much even alternative research that you've ever heard. So I'm really like, the filling in an Oreo cookie, and just, pressure from above and pressure from below, because I'm not in concordance with any of those things. So it's just, these truth drops can be gotten from these things. And, if you're paying attention, and things that make you scratch your head, but they're there and sometimes can be found at the actual, not what these things are actually, but in the meanings. And it just, it starts you down this path that maybe of things that you never thought of before or even ever heard about. But let's take a look at this website here behind the name, and they explain the meanings, just general terms, not lengthy explanations or anything here, but get into a little bit more deeper in a minute. But it's what the name actually means. And here it says behind the name here, it's, I showed it gender, masculine, and usage is biblical, and the scripts and how it's pronounced, blah, blah, blah. And here's what's really interesting: meaning and history from Hebrew, Goliath, okay, possibly derived from Gala, meaning to uncover and reveal. I just find that fascinating there about how this name Goliath certainly brings up, you know, visions of a rather, large individual, a giant, and his name would mean uncover and reveal. Hmm. I wonder what could be uncovered and revealed by this giant that's mentioned in the Bible. This is the name of the giant Philistine who was slain by David in the Old Testament. And here's some old sort of, art, 1866, Gustave Doré. Always loved that vintage art, antique art. It's always cool. People think this name is classic, mature, devious, strong, rough, strange, unintellectual. Well, it's interesting that, to me, from a psychological point of view, that this name would mean all these things, including unintellectual. And it just makes me think of the whole propaganda um, against the giants and the genocide, the giant genocide, and well, this sort of idea and an archetype would come from this sort of thinking and parallel thinking or whatever. But here you see down here where it says in categories here, it says uncertain etymology, which is also of tremendous interest to me. I don't know about anybody else, but it seems to me that, this uncertain etymology is sort of evidence of a far more ancient past when you really look at it, okay? And you didn't know about names or words or anything else that have an uncertain etymology. It certainly makes you think about how this possibly reveals something about the ancient past and a sort of, based on this uncertain etymology that covers many, many words and names. um, it just should make you think about a far different past than, what is given to us due to, the complexity of what it all sort of means and what they sort of guess at what the meanings of these words are in the uncertain etymology. But if you really take a look at it, here's a list of names and many, 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 many names that have an uncertain etymology. And that should sort of, you know, pique people's interest, I would think, because it certainly suggests something. And especially when you listen to some of what are these sort of explanations of what they think it means, but they're not sure where these words come from, evidently. And this is what unknown etymology, certain things they can figure out seem pretty clear, but there's many, many, many names with uncertain etymology, and there's many, many English terms with unknown etymology, just lists and lists and lists of names where there's just some of them are slang, obviously, and from time periods where we know of time period it arrived in, because some of them are more recent words, but they don't not quite sure where they come from, even though they were used in recent times too, up into the 20th century. But as far as the words that would be far more ancient words, going further back into the past, what that should certainly raise some flags for some people about what the past really would be when you have so many of these words, and this is just in the English language, that have unknown etymologies. Okay, so just something to think about there when you hear about these terms. So let's look a little bit more serious um, explanation here of the meaning of the name, at least through the eyes of uh, the Jewish people with these Abarim publications, which, discover the meanings of thousands of biblical names in Abarim publications, Biblical Name Vault. So this website hosts this biblical name vault, and let's see what they say about it. So it's just interesting in their, in their minds, in their terminology here. It means exposure, and it also means exile. And so again, I just, with all the propaganda that's, put against the giants that, we hear about from the Bible, and there's certain mythologies of certain people around the whole entire planet apparently have stories of giants, and we're going to hear more about them and more about these things in the near future. But we've already gone over them in the Americas here, so you have to think about it like the stone giants. They're not stone giants, you goofballs. They're these giants that, evidently dealt in, crafted things with stone. But the meaning of Goliath's name here, exposure and exile, certainly suggests, something to me, a little truth drop there about what could this giant from the Bible be exposing to us? What is he exposing to us? And they're trying to think of it in these terms. But if again, if you subscribe to the ideas that I put out on my channel, you're going to see it in different terms. So in any case, so it says from the verb gala, okay, that's they're saying that the etymology is, in their minds comes from this gala, to uncover, expose, or remove. And they have these related names here. Named Goliath in the Bible. There are two men named Goliath in the Bible. The famous Goliath is the impious Philistine giant from Gath, who defies Israel during a war between the Philistines and Israel. Young David kills him famously with a slingshot stone in 1 Samuel 17:50. And according to 2 Samuel 21:15 through 22, Goliath had four gargantuan sons. And, they taught these four sons here. And again, my good friend Bill Donahue from Hitting Meanings in the Bible will tell you that these people didn't exist. And these people have their particular meanings, a much deeper meaning and much more beneficial understanding of these things, because here you see what the name Goliath really means. And, you had no idea of that before I just told you this. Okay, so, what does it really mean? What is it exposing here? Okay, so here's their assessment of what the word means. Okay, Goliath meaning. For a meaning of the name Goliath, Knob's study Bible nameless in Jones Dictionary of Old Testament proper names go with the first meaning of the verb and read exile. BDB Theological Dictionary goes with the second meaning and reads conspicuous, but prints a question mark to indicate dubiosity. BDB's doubt aside, here at Abarim Publications, we feel that the context of the character of Goliath veers more toward the meaning of conspicuous than to exile. But it is striking that where in our age the name Goliath brings to mind gigantism and formidability, in the Bible it reflects exposure and exile. The form, whatever it says in Hebrew there, is used as regular word in Ruth 3:4, you uncover. Chronicles 17:25, you have revealed. Isaiah 57:8, you have uncovered. And Ezekiel 12:3, you remove. And this suggests that Goliath name reflects the giant's propensity to expose Israel's weakness and his intention to remove them from the land. And this removal may be a removal of their culture and wisdom tradition rather than the physical Israelites. You see how they read into it in their own deeper explanation of it, but to go by somebody like Bill Donahue, it's even far deeper than that and far more meaningful than that. But you see how this is all geared towards this sort of whole different way of looking at how they perceive the giants in these terms. So just listen to more of this, okay? It gets more interesting. The name Goliath does not mean giant, it means exposer. And Israel's occupation with the male foreskin and the mammalian reproductive cycle, with God as the rightful husband of his bridal humanity, see in our article on Kabod, certainly stimulates an association of Goliath with a sexual antagonist. The creator is Israel's true husband, but every now and then a not godly culture imposes its lustful will upon Israel. Train. Goliath's decapitation clearly parallels the same quest for Philistine circumcision that dominates Israel's attitude from the time of the Judges until the early kingdom years. Judges 14:3, 15:18, 1 Samuel 14:16, 17:26, 18:25, 27. So you see, it's covered a lot in the Bible here, but in far deeper meaning. By implication, the name Goliath means Philistine national schlong or even rapist. Okay, so look at what's being said here and what is being perceived by these religious scholars from this online publication here. Okay, so this is one additional note that's even more curious. In 1 Samuel 21:9 occurs a wordplay. The sword of Goliath is wrapped in a garment. See the name Lot. So, without going in forever into more deeper into this, but I just wanted to bring this to you and see what you guys think of what this can really possibly mean. What is it really exposing? And what is this exile? Is this the exile of the giants when they were banished from society? Maybe they were the rulers for a long time and then they were taken over as they devolved because their bodies were not suited to the new gravity from whatever occurred that they say was the ice age, but was something even more dramatic, something even more, devastating than we can possibly think, which they think is the ice age because they have no better explanation. It's an old idea, but not to go there. I've covered that on my channel before about, other people, very learned people say it's baloney, ice age is baloney, but something else happened, something big. But it seems to me that, these things are the two drops. And one more note, okay? Just a short video this time, just something to think about. Remember the old Davy and Goliath series, this claymation, stop animation, you sort of for kids, but with the religious slant to it. I used to watch it as a kid, and you watched it here on YouTube a few times just for kicks. But it's with the Davy and his dog Goliath here. But his dog Goliath is, first of all, he's not a giant, but he's a talking dog. And not only is he a talking dog, but usually when Davy is doing something wrong that God wouldn't like, okay, Goliath here, the talking dog, would talk to him and say, "Hey, Davy, God wouldn't like that, Davy. If you did that, Davy. Don't do that, Davy. He would say that to him all the time. So he's not a bad guy in this little, claymation cartoon animation thing here with Dog Goliath. Yeah, he's not a bad guy. He's a really good guy. He's actually, sort of the go between God and Davy here, because he's always reminding Davy that God wouldn't like what Davy's doing when he's up to no good. So in any case, I just thought that would be an interesting. What are they trying to say to us with this? What is this? This non-human entity or whatever it is that's been setting us all up, and all this sort of contrived reality that we have to go through here, unfortunately. But what are these things saying about the Giants? What is this saying about the name in the Bible as being an exposure, exile? What is it expose? A past that we know nothing about, a past of the Giants. It was a book of the Giants with the Bible. Is they when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found it there, but there's just nothing left of it. It was all eaten up, and they couldn't read much from it. But they got a few things from it. But apparently, it's part of the books of the Bible. Well, why would you dedicate a part of the Bible to the Giants? So I don't know, but here we have this story from the Old Testament, and what is it really trying to tell us? What is the truth droplet in it here? That's all I'm asking. I don't know if you guys are, I mean, I don't trust anything from mainstream or the History Channel or anything else, and you've seen this kind of stuff about these stories of Bible stories on whatever channel, Learning Channel, History Channel, so all this stuff, right? It's just a story we hear over again. Did they ever get into this part of it? No. What does it mean? What's the meaning of it? What are these meanings really actually telling us? Okay, so I just thought I'd do this little video here to sort of show you this, much, go into it a bit deeper, look into it a bit deeper to see what it really means, or what it's really trying to tell us. All right, guys. Anyway, I thought you might be interested in that. And if you were, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe, because we definitely go over some very, very thought provoking things on this channel that you never heard before. So please do subscribe. And I'll be getting back to you with a new Giants video real soon. All right, guys. Anyway, Bloodcat7 signing off. Peace.